What's going on, people? How you doing? TK coming at you, Mr. Finance, here on Instagram TV. You can also find me under Master Wealth Builders for YouTube, Facebook, and I'm also on Twitter. So today I'm doing a little bit of studying, and I'm looking at finance in the terms of the fractional reserve banking system and the way we all participate in economics. Typically, we are fighting for access, and we are trying to figure out ways to do something that allows us to make more paper than the people that are around us. So it doesn't matter what you choose to do. A lot of people find ways to make themselves comfortable, or they're doing things that they may not be comfortable with, but they're sacrificing for access to more of this fiat currency. So if you think about our current pyramidal architecture within the fractional reserve distribution model, it's really about engineered scarcity and limited access. So in other words, people who are allowed to make it go through a funneled door, you know, that glass ceiling is controlled by certain access points. And that's the part that you realize the further you move up, because you're put in positions where in order to move up you have to compromise, you have to be degraded. So we're going to humiliate you, and we're going to degrade you. And every time you want to move up, you have to give up more humiliation and more degradation. And then usually that is recorded so that they can hold it over your head and make sure that you don't speak about the funnel gates that you have to walk through in order to have access. So there's a lot of negativity, or put it this way, the people who sit at the top of the pyramid believe in some different stuff. That, you know, their religion is based on an ancient Egyptian stuff. So a lot of the sacrifice you have to make has to do with their type of religious belief. And then also the humiliation and the degradation. So you have recorded humiliation, recorded degradation, and then you also have ritualistic doors that you have to walk through if you want access. And most people love money so much, or they care about paper to the point where they're willing to make that sacrifice. They're willing to, you know what I mean, walk through those doors and go through that gravy in order to get access to more money, or access to more paper, more fiat currency. So that explains why people don't openly talk, because if you do talk about it, the average sheep is not going to believe you. Their world is separate from the world of access, so they're not going to believe that the power structures that control the access require you to participate in rituals, be humiliated, and be degraded every time you want to move up to a different level. So all of these famous people go through this type of ritualistic humiliation, and they say it's gravy. So your primary concern is just selling your soul for paper. And the sad thing is that paper is worth less the longer you hold it. So you're being duped, you're being used, but the sacrifice is, well, at least I have access, and I have a lot more access than everyone around me. And that's the cycle of this existence, right? It's pretty much our entire structure right now. So if you step out of fiat currency and you actually look at economic access through higher forms of currency like gold, silver, and Bitcoin, now you're able to make economic decisions without having to go through a gatekeeper. So it removes a little bit of the power structure because you're circumventing the gatekeeper and you're basically making some independent decisions because of the gold, silver, and Bitcoin that you have access to. So it's the same thing if you were given access to a different form of money like a black card. So now this black credit card gives you access and payment levels that you never had before. So if you choose to pull that out your wallet and use it, you can make different type of deals because of the level of access that comes with a black card. So in an analogy, the same thing applies to gold, silver, and Bitcoin because it's a form of payment, it's a means of exchange, but it doesn't go through the same gatekeepers that fiat currency goes through. So using it allows you to make some independent decisions without having to consult with the third party, an intermediary, before you make that decision. So that's the only reason why I encourage people to empower themselves on that level, because do you want to consult before you make a decision, or do you just want to make a decision based on some smart investments? So you gain access to gold, silver, and Bitcoin based on smart investments. And then instead of consulting with someone else first, when you want to do something with it, you just do it. Because there's no one to consult with. There's no intermediary. There's no third party. So you don't have to ask permission to spend. You don't have to ask permission to make a deal. So I hope that makes sense. And I hope you guys understand better where we are in this control game. Because the influence of money, or the controllers that sit at the top of the 1% pyramid, it's not about anything other than controlled access and controlled presentation. So if you're allowed through, they want to reel you into their control mechanisms. And they decide who has access, who doesn't have access, and what you have to do to maintain access. So I've never been interested in carrot strings. I've always been interested in making some smart decisions where I can position myself effectively in tangibles and then begin to be my own bank. Because I take back some of my power, and I'm just smarter for not having to get on my knees in order to beg somebody else to have a little bit more paper. I'd rather make the smart investment decision, see a decent ROI, convert that to gold, silver, and Bitcoin, and then continue to stack. So you tell me which one makes more sense. The Martin Luther King beg for access and inclusion, or the individual decentralized method of becoming your own bank, and then you having the power to not have to consult with anyone whenever you want to make a decision to move, to stack, or to do anything you want with your money. So if this doesn't reach you, if this message went over your head, I guess stay on your knees. But if you understand anything that I'm saying, then be strong and perseverant in your investments. Continue to make your money work for you, work smarter for you. You know, employ your income to the point where it's paying you first, and it becomes your primary method. You know, gold, silver, Bitcoin should be your primary method.